Okay, class, welcome to Workshop 3. We're looking at Chapter 17 and 18 this week. Chapter 17 is activity-based costing, which is an alternative to the traditional overhead allocation methods that we looked at previously. Chapter 18 is cost behavior and cost volume profit analysis. Both are very useful to know, and once you get it down, they'll be second nature, but we need to work through a couple things here on the video and the study guide to make sure you understand the logic behind each one. So let's go ahead and look at Chapter 17 first. Make sure you have your study guide in front of you. On the first page, I've referred you to page 724 to 729. That's an example of activity-based costing with several different departments and functions and drivers going on. So once we get through the video, that might be something that you look at as in your reading, might be something that you turn back to. But it's a little bit more detailed for what you want to look at first to learn what activity-based costing is doing. So that's what I've done in, on page 2. I've written up an example problem to help us with some of the concepts and understand what's going on. So let's go ahead and turn to page 2 and look at this example of this company. And what I've done is to look at how they might allocate overhead under the traditional method that we've done before, and then activity-based costing, which is more detailed but provides better information. So in the example problem, we have a company with total overhead of $300,000, and I've given you two different products that they make. They make the standard unit and then a custom unit, and they make quite a bit different amounts. So there's $500 that they make of the standard unit, $100 of the custom unit that they make. So we're going to ignore the direct materials and direct labor. Remember, these are the direct costs associated with these products. These would be in addition to the overhead cost allocation to figure out our total cost of the product. We're just looking at the overhead piece here, so make sure that you understand that there would be an additional raw materials and direct labor piece that we would add to whatever we're going to allocate in overhead using activity-based costing or our traditional method. So let's look at our traditional method first. Under the traditional method, the company has chosen direct labor hours as their cost driver. We could pick a number of different things here. A lot of times they pick machine hours, direct labor hours, etc. So we're just picking one here, and the idea is we're allocating that total $300,000 to our products based on that one cost driver. So we have to figure out what is our estimate of direct labor hours that we're going to use. I've given this to you here. The company estimated that standard units would require a total of 1,000 direct labor hours. Custom units would require 500 direct labor hours. So how do we figure out that overhead? How do we allocate the $300,000 in total overhead to these products, the standard and the custom, based on what the direct labor hours are? Well, this is a simple calculation here. So we figure out what the overhead per direct labor hour would be by dividing the $300,000, that's our total, by the total of the direct labor hours, which is $1,500. So we say $200 is what our overhead allocation is going to be for every direct labor hour worked on the product. So now let's look at how would we allocate those to the standard and the custom based on that number. So we said 1,000 direct labor hours are going to be used for the standard units. So we times that by $200, and we get $200,000 in overhead allocation to the standard. 500 direct labor hours times the same 200 number per direct labor hour equals 100,000 of the overhead that we're allocating to the custom unit. So look at that 200,000 plus the 100,000. That's our total 300,000 total overhead that we're allocating. What would that be per unit wise? Well, we would just need to divide that 200,000 and 100,000 by however many estimated units we're having for the standard and custom. So 200,000 divided by 500 units is the $400 allocation per unit for standard. 100,000 divided by 100 units is the $1,000 allocation per unit for the custom. So under the traditional method, we're allocating 400 per unit to standard, 1,000 to custom. We would add these to whatever our raw materials and direct labor are to figure out what our estimated costs for each of these different types of products are. We'll use that information to price our goods to our customers.